I'm not gonna lie. I respect you guys enough to be honest with you, and when I finished this chapter, I was pretty bored. Just because I was bored, that doesn't mean that it was a bad chapter. It wasn't, but it wasn't the best. I'm gonna say it's an average chapter. Now for this one, I'm not gonna summarize the entire thing because I just feel like it's better if I just talk about the stuff that really mattered to me. So let's start with that. Okay, so let's talk about the things that I liked first. Last week I was saying how I thought that basically this story was just another version of the Naruto and Sasuke story, which is true. Like if you look at the overall picture of the thing, it is another version of Naruto and Sasuke, but this chapter helped me realize that there are some specific differences, and I'm going to point them out to you. And I think those differences are worth mentioning because a lot of people last week were saying the exact same thing. They were saying like, oh Sawyer, you just don't understand, man. Like that's Kishi's way of saying that history repeats itself. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I don't know who taught you that, but history doesn't repeat itself because nothing happens the same way twice. Every generation has a new set of variables that they interact with, in their environment that just makes things different. I mean, I can understand if you mean like people not learning from their mistakes and just hitting the same wall over and over again because they refuse to learn from their mistakes. That's different though, It's not about history repeating itself. It's more like, well, people are just stupid and they think that if they keep doing the same thing over and over again, they're going to have a different result. Okay, so the first difference, and this should be obvious. Personalities. Okay, so Hashirama has a condescending personality, and he's a jokester, but the reason you don't perceive it as being condescending is because he cloaks all of that with sensitivity. So he likes playing the sensitivity card because that allows him to be a little bit of a jerk. At least that's the way he interacts with Madara, because when it comes down to it, he can also be very serious. Now Madara, he just has a bad temper, man, and a big ego, so yeah, that usually doesn't end well. Yet it's so weird how we do see a human side of him in this chapter, of him trying to, be there for Hashirama. Technically, he's supposed to be one of the most villainous characters in the entire series, yet we see him acting as a human being. So, that's refreshing because, it just goes to show that no one is ever born inherently bad. And there's like this little gay scene of Madara getting nervous because Hashirama was standing behind him. I mean, you usually get nervous in the presence of your crush, right? And it's really cool how both of them infer that the other one is a shinobi. Like, for example, Hashirama walks on water, but he also withholds his family name, and then the way that Madara throws the pebble at one point resembles the way that you would throw a shuriken. So that was pretty neat. And you got the Senju dad being an asshole, and we've got three brothers. Three. Did you know that? I didn't. I found it freaking hilarious how Itama's hair is pretty much half Tobirama's hair and then half Hashirama's hair. That was awesome. Itama's character. The moment we saw that panel, did you not know that he was gonna fucking die? Like, this is fucking obvious. That's not to say that his character doesn't serve a purpose, because it does. I mean, the death of his character serves a purpose, more than his character, which is to bring Madara and Hashirama kind of like together, in a sense, by the end of the chapter, as gay as it sounds. The dad also serves a purpose because he gets Hashirama thinking about these things that eventually he's going to have to deal with as Hokage, and as the founder of the Hidden Leaf. And all of these little tidbits that we get of foreshadowing the formation of the shinobi nation. All that foreshadowing is important. Okay, what's not important is all this talk about fucking peace and seeking vengeance and war and how the shinobis are never going to get along. Those topics have been beaten to death already. It's just really, it really is like beating a dead horse. I mean, come on. Come the fuck on. We already know those things are an issue. And not only do we know that those things are an issue, but we also know that those things don't get resolved with Hashirama and Madara, so it's kind of like a waste of time. The solution for all of those issues is going to come from Naruto. It's not going to come from Hashirama, it's not going to come from Madara. I mean, as a writer, there has to come a point where you respect your readers enough to let them figure out things by themselves. And if you're just spoon-feeding them the same theme over and over again, and they have some sense of intelligence, they're going to get annoyed. And I think that's my biggest problem with this chapter, is that it's getting repetitive. I don't care what anybody says. You have to admit at some point it's getting fucking repetitive. There are some specific differences, like I said before. You got Itama getting killed by the Uchiha, which I thought was a really, really nice touch. But, not that he got killed, but that it was the Uchiha who killed him. So there are some specific differences, but when you look at the overall scheme of things, it's the same. Now let me tell you what my favorite part of the chapter was. It's when Madara finally gets the pebble across the river. No, I'm just kidding. No, my favorite part is when he says, well, he reveals that he actually had four brothers. The reason why I like that so much is because in terms of his relationship with Izuna, okay, and how his death affected him at such a deep level, it makes more sense now. Because it's not like, oh, like that was my only, no, like you've already lost three brothers. So his sense of loss is greater now. Because, yeah, if Izuna was the last one that was left alive, and then he lost him too, it kind of explains why he ends up being a villain. Tobirama's personality. I mean, he's pretty much the same way he is now, in a sense, very authoritative. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see Mito eventually. We could have seen her in this chapter if we had been spared the whole, oh, Shinobi will never live in peace bullshit dialogue. But, I mean, we'll see her. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Comment, like if you like. And, yeah, subscribe. Bye.